I'm Gita. I live here on Kauai, and I've been a chef on island for, oh, on and off, roughly 15 years now. I originally grew up in New Mexico with a mom who grew lots of our food and sort of hippie upbringing, which has informed me later on in life. I went quite the other direction when I was old enough to buy my own snacks. It was always junk. So she's happy to see the turnaround. But it came about mostly as I became interested in cooking food, having a connection to the food that we're eating. And when I was living in New York or living in Washington, D.C., I started to get access to farmers markets and kind of blown away by the variety that's there. When I moved back to Hawaii, I have family ties here. I ended up going to Kapiolani Culinary School or Community College, which has a culinary program. Now it's a larger program, but at the time it was a 2-year program, and becoming the president of the slow food chapter there, which for those of you not familiar with slow food, it's an international organization based on the concept of essentially the opposite of fast food, taking time with your food, both for the preparation, the growing, the what you do with the end products, and of course wasting as little as possible. And we had a small chapter at our school, and we got to do lots of fun things like go to outer islands and visit farms there, experience what was happening in food and food culture here in Hawaii, which is its own fascinating and deeply rooted history. So this has been a lesson in not just the diversity of living on the islands, but also learning about farming and all it takes to grow the food that we take for granted when we go into the grocery store. So as I've created businesses and sort of branched out into my own thing and become an entrepreneur, it's always been farm driven and chef driven, less so scientific and less so business related, and certainly not technological. So it's fascinating to see that there's programs like what JP is involved in that are starting from that background and then also taking on the ideas of value added and food that tastes good and all of those things. And I think combining those is awesome. I'm excited to learn more about his program. I originally started making my products as sort of an answer to some of the things JP was talking about. All of a sudden you end up with 400 pounds of turmeric, or there's orange groves that are just being left unattended. And you say, how can this be? Like, we're in this bountiful environment with so much essentially excess as far as the rest of the world is concerned. It should be harnessed. It can be preserved in various ways. I learned, and mostly self-taught, methods of preservation. But I also took the Master Preservers course, which is offered through the university, and it was essential and fantastic in getting a sense for all of the different ways that we can take the food that you see, growing in somebody's yard that nobody's touching. One of those things that for a long time was ulu, like, people letting that drop on the ground, and it's an incredible food source, and finding ways to extend its shelf life and also make it more palatable and interesting to a wider variety of people. So that was sort of the basis by which I started my product line. When I started it, it was called Gita's Kitchen Pantry, which is fine and all. I sort of started it as a hobby. And with that product line, I had made one product, which was my passion fruit orange guava syrup, which was basically my take on POG, because I love the concept of POG, but I don't like the flavor of what's out on the market these days. It's sort of just, it usually doesn't even have any guava in it. And it's just, you can't even get that on Hawaiian Airlines at the moment, is something with, so I wanted to make something that tasted, in my opinion, better. And I submitted that product to something I was not that familiar with at the time, which was the Good Food Awards. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of that on this side, but they were based in San Francisco when I started. And it's essentially a smaller version of some of the large food trade shows where they blind taste products from all over the country, and these judges who come from food backgrounds, marketing backgrounds, retail backgrounds, they blind taste, I think it's now up to like 20 categories of different foods, mark, high score them without knowing anything about the company, without knowing anything about the background. And you can essentially win for the taste of your product. And I happened to win for the passion fruit orange guava syrup. When that happened, I was sort of surprised, actually, because being so small scale and just kind of doing it for fun at the time, it had never occurred to me to take it a step further and actually create a marketable product that had some branding behind it, and all of these concepts that come with consumer packaged goods, which I had no idea what that term even meant. People were throwing around the CPG, and I was like, I don't know what that is. But I took a course with an ex-buyer for one of the stores in San Francisco called Retail Ready. That was very helpful to me. It kind of breaks down all of the basics. So it's basically doing what JP is offering, but from a non-school perspective, and having there's other resources out there, which is wonderful because not all of us have necessarily the access to the school programs that are available here in Hawaii. So in doing Retail Ready, I realized that I wanted to expand the brand to something that was a little bit more accessible visually. When you see it on a shelf, that you could kind of identify with what was being sold. And also I wanted to kind of get away from just being my name, because as fun as it is to have your name on something, it kind of limits in some ways what kind of reach you can have. And at least that's how I felt about it at the time. One day when I'm a big famous chef, then maybe I'll throw my name back on something. But for now, I decided on Slow Island, which goes back to my time as the president of the Slow Food chapter, but also refers to where we are. Kauai, if you visited here, is one of the quieter islands. I'm sitting right now in my backyard, and aside from the loud chicken that keeps coming by, it's virtually silent. There's nothing going on, and it's relaxing, and it should evoke the sense of the islands. I'm going to do my best to share my PowerPoint slides, since that was a request. I'm really not good at this, so please forgive me if I don't know how to do this. Let's see here. I'm going to do a share screen thing. How do I do that? Share my screen. Let's see. Maybe? What is that working? Oops, no. Desktop? No. Keynote?
No,
oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm really bad at this. What are you getting to see?
Do you want me to help you walk through it?
Thank you. I see here. I'm just gonna share screen.
And it should come up, and then you should be able to then click on your presentation, which will then a green box will come up, and then we should be able to.
Okay, well, I'm going to hopefully that will work. And if not, I'm really apologetic. This is, like I said, technology, not my strong suit. So let's see here. I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah,
that's fine. Gita, don't worry about it. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I did want to show some of my products. If I figure it out while we're talking, then great. But if not, then you can visit slowislandco.com and see some of the things that we make. One of them, or the first products, like I was talking about, were the culinary syrups, which I came up with that terminology because I don't like being boxed into the idea of just something sweet. And thank you so much for sharing that. So culinary syrups to me are something that's a little bit more broad reaching and can be used for a variety of things, including sauces or dressings, different applications that you wouldn't necessarily use something that's particularly sweet, but maybe you want that balance of sweet and savory. So we did a line of culinary syrups and have recently expanded that to include a line of vanilla-based culinary syrups. Oh gosh, thanks. I don't know who's the wizard here, but you guys are awesome. And so we have a vanilla producer here on island who makes some of the most incredible vanilla beans, and I've been able to utilize those products to get a variety of flavors that are vanilla based as well. Some of these are not on. I'm actually just about to update my website. More recently, we created our turmeric wellness elixir, which is turmeric, orange, and passion fruit, so that it's a little bit more tasty. Who is the person doing this? I'm really impressed, I have to say. So the turmeric, orange, passion fruit wellness elixir is in some respects similar to what JP is talking about with the turmeric elixirs that his class is making. But I did want it to be something where a person would want to potentially drink it, not just when they're feeling ill, but also when they're, just to improve their day-to-day. So that's what we came up with as a response to having lots and lots of turmeric available to us here on this island. That's beautiful and organic and farmed incredibly. Most recently, we've started a line of savory products, and that's something that I'm excited about, primarily because I really do love savory foods more than I like sweet foods. So we use, as a byproduct of our turmeric elixir, we make a sea salt that's blended with the turmeric, orange, passion fruit. As you can see, we've mixed all of those flavors together and with Kona sea salt. And then we've started to do some more savory things like our chili crunch using macadamia nuts and sunflower oil from Maui. And it's got a bit of heat to it. There we go. And we do a line of sauces as well. So we're doing hot sauces. And we have a sweet chili sauce, which won a Good Food Award recently. It's made with local honey and local Thai chilies. So that's the extent of what we're up to. The one thing that I really did want to show you was the latest iteration on the idea of value added, in which sometimes farms don't create large amounts of product. And they come to you and they say, hey, I have X to sell, and it's not, not a terribly large amount. You couldn't necessarily make something that's going to last for, where you can make 1,000 bottles of it. So I started the Mahiai Reserve line. In Hawaiian language, Mahiai means farmer, and it's basically Farmer's Reserve. It is a line of limited edition products, so they're numbered editions, and it's specific to a farm. So I've created a bottle of a 5-pepper hot sauce, which essentially those 5 peppers are 5 very unique peppers from a particular farm on Kauai, and that particular blend of peppers is something that I will be able to do for 500 bottles, but not more. So I've limited it to 500 bottles that I've numbered. It's a little bit more exclusive, as in price point, is a little bit higher, but I also want to call out the farm. So I've made an embossed gold sticker with the farm's logo that goes directly on the bottle. And that way there's some sharing of the kind of recognition that should come with farming, in my opinion. When you have something really exciting to share ingredient wise, it's really nice to be able to see it fulfilled, it kind of create one of its highest uses is, sitting on a shelf with a beautiful label and a beautiful logo on it. So that's been really fun to do. I have the first farm here that I've worked with, I have 3 products now for that line, and I tend to expand that more because there are always specialty products being experimented with and developed, and people are growing cool stuff here, and you really just want to be able to celebrate that. So that's my kind of new passion project as far as my Slow Island subline is concerned. The challenges that I'm facing here are generally supply chain when it comes to creating products that are marketable outside of Hawaii, having enough product of one thing is its own challenge. So that's part of why I've taken on the Mahiai Reserve line, is to be able to have something that's so extra special that I'm not even trying to export it. And you can buy it online and that's fine. But the idea being that we're doing something here for here, primarily. Eventually, if I can work out the supply chain issues for my base line of products, then I will look at expanding into the greater US, other than just online. But for now, that's kind of where I am. I don't want to monopolize the conversation too much more. And if I can figure out my pictures of my new stuff towards the end, I can maybe share those. But in the meantime, I really appreciate being here. And I hope that I'm not just talking too fast and and you can't understand anything that I'm saying. So if there's any questions about what I'm doing at the end, I would love to answer them.